Anyway, it's Thursday, March 20th, 2025. I'm Dr. Grantham Taylor Hughes for my show, The Grantham Taylor Hughes Show, with my guest host, Lena Suzanne. How are you, Lena?
I'm good, thank you, Grantham. How are you?
I'm fine. After editorializing ahead of time, and we're recording it, but she can edit these things, folks. So you might not see everything that we're doing on the show.
Well, Grantham, I don't know if I'm going to edit anything, so be careful what you say.
Yeah, I got to be real careful, right? Because she may
Yeah,
not edit it after all.
yeah.
But it is funny, and we do funny things. And years ago, when I used to do these blog talk radio shows, my co-host and I used to kibitz all the time, making, cutting up. And we were thinking about editing it, and people were going, no, no, we don't really like that. Don't edit it. So it's just one of those things where they want off the cuff. They don't want being too professional. They want something, what do they call it when you're not on? When you're not on the show, you're just doing normal behavior, right? Normal behaviors,
Yeah,
which I don't know what that means, but philosophers argue the fact of what normal is. And one of my best friends years ago, remember I said he used to do this, no, 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 normal. He's a funny guy, though.
But don't
Anyway, yes,
don't
ma'am.
don't say or do anything embarrassing, okay?
What's that?
Don't say or do anything embarrassing.
Don't do anything embarrassing. I don't
Mhm.
think I ever do much that's embarrassing. Other than my wife says I make left-handed compliments all the time. It'd be, "Hey, you look wonderful, but I hate your shoes." I really like your dress, but your shoes need to rethink that. you know so she says I'm the master at the left-handed compliment, she said, in terms of being too candid about things. And I am candid. When I like something, I'll tell people I like it. And so I'm that way because I think when you're looking nice, I think people should be told, you should compliment people. We don't do enough of that, see.
Mhm.
But I'm kind of flamboyant that way because when I see something I really like, if somebody has a night, I go, oh, I really like that dress. I just, I react to it. See, it's just like the little kid in me, right, that reacts to things. I think we need to get back to that, be more infantile.
Mhm. The eternal child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's out of control. He's really infantile. And when I was young, they had report cards, and they had the right side, you had your left side had the grades on, the right side had deportment, right? And I had all these checks on it. Doesn't practice self-control, because I'd always be telling jokes and cutting up in class, and the teachers would be always angry with me because I wouldn't shut up, right? Because I'm just making jokes, and the class is laughing the whole time. See, so if you humor the comedian and the audience laughs, but the teacher's got a curriculum, right? And they can't get anything done because I'm just making the whole class laugh, right? But so that's why I was a consummate comedian when I was younger, because the audience humored me. You know what I mean? When the audience is laughing, it makes it easy to cut up. See, so that's why I used to get in a lot of trouble, and my parents were upset with me all the time because can't you just behave? I go, why? It's not fun to sit there and sit there in a classroom. I said, can anybody tell a joke, right?
And you're still making everyone laugh now, Grantham.
Yeah, I'm a big clown. I should put a Patch Adams big red nose. He used to cut that bulb off that squeeze 'em thing they have in hospitals, and he used to put it on his nose with the big red nose and make people laugh. Patch Adams was clever about. He got in a lot of trouble with the AMA though over making everybody laugh in the hospital. He got called on the carpet with that whole thing because they said, you must behave yourself and practice like practicing self-control and not be so silly with people. But that's what cured people was the humor. And a lot of times a sense of humor will help you get over pretty much anything when you get right down to it, because it's all an illusion anyway. Now, one of my mentors always said that people die because they're not stimulated to life. They don't have anything left. That's why I think you got to get people interactive. You got to get them talking, got to get them communicating, have conversations with people, meaningful conversations, and just kid around a lot with people. I think it's really important to do that. Our oral communication, it's the ninth sense in a sentient being. A sentient being has 10 senses because the New Agers are always talking about the top of the head, the crown chakra is the place where the soul enters the body and whatnot. So they call it the 10th door, the 10th chakra. But then they don't have seven, eight, and nine. And the sixth sense is supposed to be telepathy, right? But I divined a long time ago the sixth sense is really our sense of humor because we can't really think. We have a thought, but nobody else knows that thought exactly. So there's no such thing as really telepathy. That's a big myth. But the sixth sense is our sense of humor because we all laugh. But then seven, eight, nine is reading, writing, and speaking. Now, reading and writing is our learned behaviors, right? But we learn things as a human to be sentient. See what I mean? So we learn how to read and write. We read the script. We speak it, and then we write it, and then we read it. We learn to decipher our scripts. You see, and that makes us sentient. It makes us human having abilities. We have certain abilities. So seven and eight being proficient at reading and writing is rare. I mean, writers are rare. I mean, I had to learn how to be a good writer. I gave my PhD thesis to my wife, who is a professional journalist, and she started marking it up in red and everything. I said, "Wait a minute, I got summa cum laude with that." She said, "Yeah, you can't write, and your jury people and your PhD in the school, they can't write it either." She said. But she made me a better writer, though. I'm a good writer now because a good editor. So it's kind of like people get nervous because we're so good at these things. But anybody can do it if you study. You have to study and practice to be good at, be proficient at things. But people just don't have time because they're doing their 8-hour job every day. See, and that becomes a problem because they just throw you out there after a modicum of education, not much education, and then you're into the workforce. See. So they don't really give you knowledge in school. They're just trying to put you to work. That's called the international labor camp. Again, I don't think it's contrived. I think it's been just going on for a long, long time. And because people always try to find a culprit. And you know what I say about that. You go look in the mirror and get rid of that culprit and you're good to go. See? The only bad guy is yourself when you're criticizing other people for being negative. Because I'm always saying, don't condemn, commend. Let's build up people. Let's look at the good things in somebody and not be negative. I think you agree with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we should just see the best in everyone. If we just focus on all the negative points, or even if a person has one thing that we don't doesn't feel good to us, that if we
Yes,
all our attention there, that's all we see in the end.
correct. That's true.
If we look at all the wonderful qualities that each and every
Yes,
person has, then
correct.
we amplify them and they grow.
That's right. Well said. I mean, I really like that. That's more of a golden age way of looking at things. Let's commend people and not condemn people. Commendation, no condemnation. With commendation, we'll give you some medals. We'll give you a big gold medal in this commendation. You know what I mean? They're always giving awards and what have you. So let's award people all the time for being goodly and what have you. I don't think it's hard to do. I think it's a childlike quality to have fun and appreciate people and like you said, all the good qualities, and all the good qualities will overshadow the bad qualities. And then if there's any problems that people have, we talk about getting in the gene bundle and fixing it. What do we talk about? The body, Brine, can fix any malady that you have. We've divined recently that the Taoists, the uh, teaching Tao Te Ching is a teaching in the East, and the Taoists have talked about saliva for a long time, and they call it jade, Jade, like the color, the stone jade, the green stone. They call the saliva jade, and they've been using it for centuries. And they call it, like, I think they call it some kind of heavenly elixir, which is really incredible when you think about it. We don't think about that in the West, but I've been pushing that recently, and I think it's very important because the brine can cure you of anything that gets into your gene bundle, and you can fix anything. So there's a lot of powers that we're giving back on our videos that people just don't have. Well, you know that we talk a lot about things that people don't talk about, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, a lot of this information isn't heard of out there. No
No,
one's
it's
talking about this.
Yeah, it's really easy stuff, but see, people think about these things, and we should voice our thoughts, but we don't have forums where you can do that. Remember, I told you about this Pastor Newhouse, who was a friend of William F. Buckley many years ago, and he had written this book called The Naked Public Square. So he thought that if people came to the public square, excuse me, and voiced their opinion, that things would be much better. But people don't do that because why? They're afraid of public speaking. See, so he didn't really take that into consideration that the biggest fear that man has, at least internationally, is public speaking. He didn't really take that into account. So that's kind of like writers, and I'm always talking about people who are talking about certain things, and then certain people that have awareness, like the awareness, superior awareness, you need to get in there and help people and fix people, but do it in a really gentle way. Like you said, we were saying before, if you don't like something, kind of gradually get to it perhaps or leave it alone and it'll fix itself. You know how it is with people. They'll get things and people are always improving anyway. Remember we talked about the science of getting rich and chapter 14 is the impression of increase. People are always wanting to increase their lives. That we do that anyway. Even the most one that's downtrodden on the inside, he doesn't want to be that way, but he's trying to find somebody that can support him or believe in what he has to say. And that's the main thing that we need to do. We need to learn to get out of people's way and give them space to find themselves. Isn't that interesting?
What do you mean, Grantham, getting out of people's way?
Well, I mean, it's like when you have a conversation with somebody, it's like me with my wealth of knowledge and wisdom. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I get excited, but if you pay attention, you interrupt cues. I'm always talking about you and everybody else. When somebody starts to say something, back off, let them talk, and then nurture what you're having to say. Let them speak, and eventually they make their own connection. Because I have a very dear friend who's in Manhattan. We talk often on the call. We divine one time that people have to talk their way into heaven, so to speak. They have to make their own lives a heaven, if you will, but they have to talk their way. You have to talk the language. You have to be able to articulate things and make it your own connection. See that? Remember we talked about there's a term in higher Sanskrit called apnadi, which is a voice connection. You make a connection so you're making proper conclusions. And people don't make proper conclusions, they're in a state of justification of their voice. See, so that becomes a problem. So how do you make that connection? Well, you have to learn in conversational skills or working with people or try to do public speaking. Years ago, when I first started doing public speaking, I was forcing myself to do it, and I was very nervous. My voice was quavering, my knees were quavering, and I could barely talk, and I was a total wreck like that. I probably should talk like that. It's really funny, isn't it? But I was a mess. See, but I knew I had to force myself to get up there in front of the class or the meeting and talk to people. See, and you just got to let it go. You got to let it go. It doesn't matter if you're across the board and you're maybe all over the place and non sequitur, whatnot, because that's one of the arguments I have. He talks about so many things. He goes across so many horizontal politics and a lot of different. I said, yes, just pay attention. There's wisdom in that each individual. If you give them a chance, you give them a chance to connect. There's a lot of really good stuff. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. What I wanted to pick up on, Grantham, is that you mentioned about look out for interrupt cues. But in our society, in many cultures, we're taught that you don't interrupt. It's rude to butt in. So we're kind of conditioned to not doing that in a way, out of politeness.
Right, I understand that. But when you're having a conversation, people get excited and they get stimulated. They want to say something. So you just pay attention when like your eyes or they start to move their mouth or something. As soon as they do that, just back off and say, or just like I'm saying with you, you want to say something or do you agree with that? Ask a question.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
See, that's how you get in a good conversation with people. You ask questions. If they're talking, just nurture that discussion. Nurture what they're saying. Don't get in your own gig, so to speak. Get into theirs. So if you're a connected person like I am, I'm self-realized by my teachers, Tibetan Lama teachers. I gained that realization when I was in my youth. My responsibility is to stimulate you or other people to make that connection. So we learn to do that. Once we have confidence in our speech, see, that's the key to the whole thing. If you're confident, then you need to be responsible about helping other people become confident. This is good. I like that. I
Oh,
really like that.
mm.
You see what I mean? we have to allow people to become competent, but they're not competent because there's no forum for competence. We're creating a forum right here of competence. Anybody can speak to me as long as they want. I have my younger brother. I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he's a really brilliant individual. And so one day we had a conversation. I hadn't talked to him in a few years, in fact. And so he was going on and on for about 40 minutes nonstop, and I didn't get a word in edgewise. Imagine that. I didn't get a word in edgewise the whole time. So when he finally finished up, he said, "Well, I'm done now. I'm off my soapbox. What do you think about what I said?" I said, "Minus the profanity, it was really great." Because he was using the F-bomb once in a while. I don't have that in my language. I don't use profanity, and I don't think people should be doing that. It's a waste of time. I don't like it. I know it's pure, being a Puritan or whatever. So sue me. Anyway, so people need space to articulate, to communicate. Give them space. And the reason why we don't have space because we're slaves of time and people have to go to work 8 hours a day. They don't have a lot of time on their hands. That's why we're trying to help people get time on their hands by doing a 9-minute yantra every day. That's it. That's the only work you need to do. 9 minutes a day. Then you got that extra time to do what? Well, to have a conversation with people, get your own wisdom. Get out, like I said, get out of their way and find yourself in oral communication. It's really important. I mean, the speaking is the ninth sense in a sentient being. We're not speaking enough to each other because we don't have time. They have to go to work. You see how that is, Lena? The problem with people don't have space or time because they're so busy in their jobs that they're like this cog in a wheel. But in reality, people should be this fountain of energy and ideas and concepts. And instead of eating, we should be speaking. One of my teachers called you're like the flute of God, as he called it. He was a mentor of mine. I'm not really into those sorts of things. I told you I'm more exoteric and my eyes open. I'm into that. But we're kind of like this musical instrument that we need to speak and play, sing our songs, so to speak. I mean, we're not singing because when we do the auxiliary country logic, it's unsustained music. Like if I was singing to you, that would be the music. Instead of talking, I'm singing. You see that, and
Oh,
that's really easy to do.
I do love to hear your voice, Grantham. It's so wonderful.
Yes, yes, yes. It's like opera when you're singing to each other, but if you're not taking your turn, then it's a bunch of noise. See, if people are talking at the same time, it's like chickens in a hen house. But if you're singing to each other, it's opera. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I was just thinking it's when people aren't speaking to each other, it means they're just not connecting with each other, doesn't it? And
Correct.
we can become introverted
Yes,
and just isolated.
correct. Easily.
Yeah.
They'll easily isolate. And people think they're isolated because they're not viewing what they're really wanting to think about because we're stilted by the traditional thought. So we can't overcome traditional thought and we want to give our individual viewpoints. See, where's a forum where somebody can give their viewpoints without being condemned? You see? And that's a problem when you have the naked public square should be a place of commendation, not condemnation. Don't condemn people for what they have to say. And like I said, get out of the way and nurture what they're talking about because people will find their way because they have the way within themselves. And oral dissertation is a ninth sense, which needs to be nurtured with people. Well,
Yeah.
this is really a good video today. I like this a lot.
And we might not necessarily always agree with what people are saying, but they still need to have space to say it, don't they?
Yes, well, then you can move it into a more positive direction sometimes. I mean,
Mm.
you can be a guidance mechanism. I tell people if you're aware of this, you can be a fixer. Like when somebody's talking, you may not agree with a certain idea, and you say, "What do you think about this?" You see what I mean? Just guide it in a more positive light. That's all. It's really easy to do that. But and you can spend. I remember coming out of Neiman Marcus one time, and a lady was. The revolving door was behind me. I came out the door, and we started talking right next to the door. We were there for about 45 minutes. I didn't know this woman. We were just talking, having this great conversation. Happy campers, just lovely, lovely person. And I'm the one that stopped it. I think we'd still be there today. Hey, they're standing outside Neiman Marcus with that lady. How long have they been there? About 10 years.
Grantham, maybe you and I could talk here for eternity.
Well, that's it. Well, till you pass out. Remember, you pass out, you don't gas out. I mean, the limitation is you'll get tired and fall asleep. I was on the phone with my friend years ago, and I'm going, well, I think, Joe, there was a man that was going down the stairs, and he trembled and fell. He fell into his car, and there was a tree by the door. And he goes, I think you're falling asleep, Grantham. Oh, yes, I am. I started talking in Amphigory. Amphigory is it sounds it's your auxiliary country logic, but it's not making any sense, whatsoever. It's like distinguished individuals stayed by trees by the shore, and they went by the evening with no more. You see, it's like Zen koans. See, oh Zen master, what's the meaning of life? I saw a frog staying by a tree inside my knee. And he walks away, and the guy, oh, thank you for the meaning of life. Now I know what it is. That's called a Zen koan. It doesn't make any sense, but you're babbling something that makes no sense. So I make an effort to make sense out of it, and then people go, I don't understand. I said, well, there you go. You have to these are recorded, so just repeat it and try to get it the next time, or maybe the next time. I'll keep repeating it over and over again. I had a teacher that said to me, "I never repeat myself. I never repeat myself."
Grantham, I wanted to go back to a point actually that you've talked about earlier, and that was body brine. So you touched on it, but
Oh,
tell
the body brine,
me more
yeah,
about
okay.
it. What do we do with the body brine?
Right. That's the Taoists believe they call it jade, and I call it just body brine, BB, I guess. Raise the saliva. There's two glands below your lower lip on the bottom of your lower lip, and it's like a right and left side of a brain. It's similar to the brain, the left and right sides. It's a gland there. So when you put your tongue on that, you put that tongue on the gland, the moisture comes up from that gland, and that's called jade or the body brine. So what you do with that brine, the saliva in your mouth, you want to target your body, like maybe you have some pain, or you don't like what you look like, or you don't like your left arm, or I have a sore, just anything you want to change. You can target your genetic bundle because 3 trillion cells in your body are all genes anyway. The genes are just a water droplet. So you can target the body brine to any affliction that you have, and it'll fix it. I've been using it lately in the last year or so, and it's just amazing how it can rejuvenate you, can make you look younger, it can make you know I'm 125 years old. No, I'm not really 20, but I'm 75. But I don't think I look 75.
Mm.
But anyway, so you can rejuvenate yourself. You can make you look whatever you want. You can change your whole gestalt, the whole look that you have with the bride. And it's kind of a secret by the Taoists in the Far East that talk about it in their writings and what have you. But they don't. It's not really a known popular item. But I'm trying to get it into popularity because people want to be healthy and wealthy. I think you can also send the brine to your entire creation. That's something just recently I came up with because we're the creators of everything around us. So when you use your saliva, you can send it out to all the cells in the entire universe. I mean, you can do a lot with that because it's very powerful. So when you start to utilize that, then things you can change a lot in your life. And it's amazing when you think about it. We have all this, the juices of our body are the juices of we're in this water droplet. I call it the Macy dust concept. There's a long story with that. My sister was telling me about how a parrot she has had for a long time was accumulating dust in the bottom of her cage, right? And I said, dust? What does that mean? And the name of the parrot is Macy, right? So I came up with the Macy dust concept that we all emanate dust from our body. Okay, everything that's vertical will emanate. Well, the whole universe emanates some kind of a dust, and it's kind of like a cosmic dust, if you will. But if you can prove this, you can see it by if you see a light beam coming into the room, you can see dust in the air, right? There's dust in the light beam.
Hmm.
So everything has this cosmic dust, if you will. And why is it that way? Well, because the essence of what we are is kind of like they call it the light in their religions and whatnot. That light is spinning at tremendous speeds and swirling up the imagery, and creating all this dust. So we're creating dust. So I came up with Macy dust concept, MDC, right? Thanks to my sister had told me this a couple of years ago about this. So anyway, that's important. That's an important truism because all the people that are listening to the video right now, you're sitting in a huge water droplet that you're in, and that water droplet, the membrane of the outer membrane of the water droplet goes up to 4 dimensions to the sun, right? So you're creating this big water droplet, and you're in the middle of a 360-degree water droplet that's massive, okay? And your viewpoint sitting in the middle of it. It's like our bodies are a part of this manifestation at the same time. So our conscious self is inside this huge water droplet. So that's why we're always talking about we're really 100% water. Everything's water. We've evolved as amphibians in ancient times. I'm into evolution, folks. Sorry about that.
So Grantham, when you say we're sitting in the water droplet, do you mean us as our awareness are within this body of water, this body which is mostly water? Is that
Yeah, oh, well,
correct?
100%. It's 100% water. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. This will be what you're saying will be quite difficult for some people to accept.
Yes, it would be difficult, but it's still the truth. So when I repeat it, and when you finally get the enlightenment of it, you go, oh, that's really true, and you realize that everything is because the gene is just a water droplet. They analyze a water droplet. That's what a gene is. So you see what I mean? So we're in a water droplet, so we might as well understand that the replenishment of gross water in terms of how we drink water or body brine is a liqueur, a body liqueur, or the air, the humidity out of the air when we learned that we utilize that humidity. Like us right now, we could not live unless we were living on the humidity of our air. See, right now we're breathing air, so we breathe in that humidity that creates around us. See, so all the things I talk about are absolutely true. And then once you internalize it, then you realize the truth is within your own self. It's only because the group consciousness here that we're talking to the people out there, they bring this forward because I'm only talking about the things that you guys are thinking about because it's the truth. And we all know that. And what do we do? We'll utilize it. What do we do with it? We utilize it and apply it in our lives. I mean, you don't have to be that conscious of it, but once, as I said before in the past, there's been a pet peeve with me in the past about application of my knowledge. I was talking to a group of about 300 people I had on my conference call a long time about the Uniform Commercial Code, which is international law. But I told them, now remember, I'm going to tell you about this truth, but you might not be able to apply it in the courtroom, and you can't. And in England, they deny the Uniform Commercial Code exists, but it's international law because we're under bankruptcy. Remember, I told you that's how I started out in 2006, talking about the 1930 Geneva Convention bankruptcy, which is kind of a stodgy subject matter, and you're all going to fall asleep now. Lullaby and good night. Go to sleep, little baby. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Keep
So
them laughing, right, Lena? The consummate clown.
I
CC, right? CC, consummate clown, right? This is a good video. This is fun. It's a little bit different, I think, We're letting go. Folks, we're letting go. Our
that's
video is about letting go. We decided to do this after our after talk the other day after the video. I said, Lena, let's just wing it. We'll just do whatever comes, right?
I just wanted to go back, Grantham, to what you were saying. you were talking about the water droplet, but then talked about four planes. And can you go into maybe more of that? This also relates to what you were saying about the yantra the other day. We've talked about the yantra a few times, and you've mentioned that
Mhm.
we can use it to create our own empire. And you've also
Okay,
mentioned that there's enough land for everyone to have their own empire. So
that's correct.
can we go into that side of the
Yeah,
conversation?
it's interesting how you great minds think alike because I was going to bring up a couple of points about yantra. And the very first one was now remember the yantra is like a dormant, it's supposed to spin real fast. It spins dextrorotatorily, counterclockwise. No, I'm sorry, that's levororotatorily, which is counterclockwise. Okay. So it's really like a dormant instrument that, and the reason for the spin, it turns into light at some point, homogeneous light. So when you go into the light, when you come out of the light, then whatever your vision you put into it will manifest. You see, what I mean, that's a manifest. So when you practice a yantra, if you look at it, sometimes it'll start to spin levororotatorially, which is counterclockwise. I studied the terms on the spin because I didn't like the portmanteau of clockwise and counterclockwise. So I looked at the classical names of it. So lever rotatorially is counterclockwise. So when you look at the entree, try to feel it turning counterclockwise. And the idea, and now I haven't done this, but it's part of the ancient teaching that my Tibetan lamas explained to me that it's a dormant instrument that needs to spin, and when it spins, it turns into the light. Now you can make it turn into the light without the spin. I'm almost done that before, turn it into homogeneous light. You can just see it as light by looking at it. You can feel it, and it looks like it's going to turn into light. So if you get into that light, when you come out of that light, supposedly whatever visions you wanted that will manifest immediately. Because remember, we're creating everything around us as we speak, but we're not really conscious of that. But I'm trying to help people to be conscious of the fact that you're the creator. You create everything around you. You're responsible about everything because the word responsibility, if you turn it around, it's ability to respond. So we have to we have to be um, responsible for our creation or learn to be responsible because and then people say, well, it's just too much. I'll get agoraphobic. I won't be able to deal with it. I won't leave my room if I'm the creator. I don't want to create a bigger mess than it already is. Well, you just get into the truisms that we're talking about and create the proper empire that you want to have and utilizing the yantra. See, and so anyway, the idea of it, the first point I was trying to bring out about the yantra was it spins counterclockwise. See,
Hmm.
and if you start to have it spinning, that's a very good thing. But people get nervous about that because that means your entire world is going to spin in front of you, and the center is the yantra. I haven't been able to do that. But like I said, I'm almost made it totally light, homogeneous light. I can see it shimmering and getting very light, and that's really interesting. But the goal is to turn it into light, and then when you come out of it, whatever you've been doing there in the moment will manifest immediately. Now that's part of See, so that's another part of this is you were saying we have plenty of space to do this because we talk about the proper cosmos of being the app, the azimuthal equidistant projection. So when
Yeah.
there's plenty of space, people can have whatever they want. Don't think competitively with other people. Applaud people's successes. Applaud what they have, you see, and again, get out of the way to make more. See, yeah, yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, should we finish this part of the conversation here, and then in a minute, in our next video, we can talk about the AEP. Tell me again what it means.
Yes, it means azimuthal equidistant projection. And it's just a projection, and the legend in the side of that particular map will give that name. I didn't make it up. Are we a half hour into this already?
Yeah, we are. So let's finish it here, and then
Okay.
we'll just keep recording and do this next video.
Okay.